Why do we choose things that we don't actually want? For me, the problem starts immediately when I wake up, and it's a ticking time bomb from there. Do I get out of bed and go on a walk, or do I just stay in bed and relax under my comforter? In this video, we're going to explore our desires, how to identify what our desires are, how to purify and improve them, and how to become the people who we're striving to be. I'm Adora Namigade. I worked in journalism for more than 10 years, and I love religion, deprogramming, and all things becoming better people. Let's get into it. The shape your life takes, and honestly, a lot of the outcomes of your life are based on your desires. And those are, to an extent, within your control. We're going to talk about that today. I like to categorize my desires in two ways. My baser desires, the kind of lower, more basic things that I want. They might provide immediate gratification, but they're not really helping me toward my long-term goals. And my higher desires, the things that are actually helping shape my character, help me develop virtue, and helping me become the person who God wants me to be. We're going to work through 4 topics. The first 3 are questions, and the last is kind of a concluding statement. The first question is, how do I actually know what I desire? What do I desire? The second question is, how do I improve or sharpen my desires? And the third question is, how do I know if I have an accurate understanding of how to attain my desires? Then we're going to talk about developing self-mastery at the end and why this concept of understanding one's desires is so important. So I brought up earlier how when I wake up in the morning, I am faced immediately with my first choice of the day. Do I get out of my bed and go on a walk outside? Or do I stay in bed, snuggled under the warm blankets? My higher desire is to go outside and go on a walk. When I go on this walk, first of all, it actually feels good in the moment. The hard part is just actually getting up and getting out of bed. I get to feel the sun on my skin. I get to get some vitamin D. It makes me feel more energized. I get to talk to people who I'm passing by on the street. It makes me feel more connected with people in my community. I get to notice the plants. Right now it's fall. I get to see leaves on the ground. I get to see flowers. There's just a lot of perks about choosing to go on the walk. But then other days, I decide not to go on the walk. I stay huddled under my blankets instead. And while short term, that is something I really want to do, long term, I usually regret it. If I stay in bed too long, then I end up missing the window when I can go on that walk, and other responsibilities end up calling my name. I might have to go into a meeting or have a phone call for work. Then, when I'm on that call, I start to feel salty that I didn't go outside, but it was my choice not to go outside to begin with. It's interesting how, even though it's so clear to me which choice I end up preferring long term, end up not regretting throughout the day, how often I still end up struggling with the choice. Definitely relate to that statement. I don't know about you. Because sometimes what I want to do is just not what I'm going to do. So then the question becomes, how do I train my flesh to reflect the desires of my spirit and to help me follow God and do what I need to do? Truthfully, we all have desires in conflict because we are imperfect, and the beginning of wisdom is recognizing that truth and learning to form and shape our desires. So question number 1, how do I know what I actually want? I think this isn't so obvious sometimes, and I'm going to give you an example from a dear friend of mine who is a religious sister. I had the pleasure of having dinner with her maybe a month ago, and I was asking her how living in the convent was helping her grow as a person. And she was describing to me the fact that living in the convent was helping her realize she doesn't actually always have an accurate idea of what she wants. Hearing this from my friend was honestly really humbling and surprising in some ways, because I know my friend has a very close relationship with God living in the convent. She has a very structured prayer life. She takes a lot of time for silence and reflection. She knows herself better than a lot of people, I would say. But even though she knows herself so well, even she is struggling. She told me how in the order of her day, she gets a certain time slot to just do free activities that she would like to do. So sometimes she might think, I'm so tired from the tasks I had to do today. Let me use this free time that I have to sit down and read a book, perhaps. But then sometimes another one of the people who lives with her in the convent will say, hey, how about we all play a game? In her head, she's thinking, I don't want to play a game. But sometimes she's like, okay, fine, let me play the game. She ends up having a blast. She loves the game. She wonders why she didn't propose that everyone play the game. Sometimes it's easier to understand how these things work when reflecting on other people's lives or looking from the outside in on other people's lives than in the muck of your own, right? And so hearing this story from her really helped me see that, oh my gosh, I end up in this situation as well where I think I want one thing, and if I get it, it actually either doesn't make me that happy, or if I end up doing something else that I did not prefer to do, I end up loving it. Maybe it's something as small as a restaurant that I end up going to with friends that I didn't originally want to go to, or playing a particular board game when I'm hosting a dinner at my house. My friend's story made me realize that often the choice that involves service, love, and facing toward other people is the choice that is going to bring about long-term satisfaction, deep joy, and happiness down the road, not necessarily just the thing you immediately wanted. Where in your life do you choose comfort over connection? If you're walking outside with your head down scrolling on your phone, that's going to be a very different experience from looking up and noticing the beauty around you in nature or saying hi to the people who you're walking past. Question number 2, how do I sharpen my desires? I'm so excited for this section of the video because I get to talk about one of my favorite books that I read this year. It completely changed my life and I highly recommend it to anyone who eats in the West. That person is probably you. The book is called Ultra Processed People. It's by a doctor called Chris Van Tullochen. I'm not sure I'm saying his name correctly, and I apologize if I'm not. But the book is about how most people in the West live in an ultra processed food environment. That's defined as there are a lot of foods we eat that are engineered to taste good, that are engineered to be hyper palatable. That means that they're easy to swallow, and so your satiety cues don't really click in, and you can just down a whole bag of things like Doritos, for example, that are not occurring in nature, not really real foods. The author argues that since we live in a food environment that is intentionally designed to hijack our desires, a lot of the problems that we're facing today, things like high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, etc., are not necessarily only due to people's willpower or lack of willpower. They're due to the world that we've built around us. Something I found really fascinating in his approach, and that really worked, by the way, was that he didn't set out to persuade you that these foods were bad. He didn't set out to say, stop eating Doritos, you. He just said, look, I'm going to give you the information. And I think giving you the information about the food, telling you as much about it as I can, how it's made, how it's engineered, who stands to profit, why things are this way, that will indirectly dissuade you from eating the foods. He cited in the book a study, and I'm sorry I don't actually have the book in front of me right now because I lent it to my brother. Give it back if you're watching. And the study was about people who smoke who were trying to quit. The people with the most success quitting in that study long term were people who learned everything they could about smoking. They didn't learn about it in necessarily a this is bad way or this is good way. They just learned about it, and as they acquired more information, they realized, you know what, this is pretty harmful for me, and it made it easier for them to quit. I think it's great to take this approach in understanding what truly enriches your own mind and spirit. Learn about things. The things that you spend time doing, listening to, and taking. I think sometimes we consume pretty mindlessly, and we don't realize the implicit messages we're taking in. I know this is true because sometimes I'll hear a song that's like a blast from the past from the year 2000, 2003, years and years ago. A song that I haven't listened to in at least 10 years. But it comes on, I know all the lyrics. I can sing all the lyrics. Scarily enough, I don't even like the lyrics for half of these songs. I find them disturbing, but I know them. They're somewhere in my subconscious. So you really have to form your desires and sharpen them by first identifying what they actually are, and then learning about those things, seeing if those things are good for you long term. We make so many decisions every single day. We make decisions about what we eat. We make decisions about what we consume. We make decisions about what we don't consume. We make decisions about who to spend time with, about who to date, about who to be friends with. And all these things build us into who we are. So I really think the main takeaway I want to leave you with here is that good decisions are going to come from good information. And that's why it's good, by the way, to have some people who can help you discern. Sometimes you can't see things clearly, but it's really helpful to reflect back with another person who you really trust and respect. Now let's talk about point number 3. How do I actually attain my desires? And do I have an accurate understanding of how to attain my desires? I'm going to bring up another book in this section. Sometimes we really don't understand how to actually attain our desires, even though we think we might. I think a great example of this is someone who wants to lose weight and gain muscle tone. And so they think, okay, I'm just going to decrease my calories to the point of bodily starvation. Then once their body is in starvation mode, it clings onto fat and is unable to actually bring about the bodily changes the person was hoping for. Instead, if the person had done something like, let's say, change their diet to include more complex carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, they could have attained their goal. Another book I really recommend that I read this year is The Art of Spending Money, and I'll post a picture here. The book is all about how and why we spend money. He's trying to kind of peel back into the psychology of money, another book by the same author, and reveal to the reader why they are making the decisions they make or common pitfalls that people have in their financial reasoning. He made a lot of great points in this book, but one that I found particularly salient and that really fits into this topic is the idea of buying luxury goods. He said that often people buy luxury goods because they want to attain love and respect from other people. They think, if I buy this Mercedes-Benz, other people are going to love and respect me. They think if I buy the biggest house on the block, other people are going to respect and admire me. Now, interestingly enough, he said, yes, other people will notice those material purchases, but they might actually be envious or jealous of you. They might not actually give you love in response to them. So while you, the purchaser, were desiring love, affection, respect, things that are good, you ended up only maybe acquiring a few jealous eyes. It goes to show that the wrong strategy can completely sabotage the right desire. One of my main takeaways, and I think a good question to ask yourself is, are your methods actually aligned with the outcomes that you want? Maybe sit down and reverse engineer the outcomes you're looking for. I think a good way of doing this is looking at people's lives who you admire and reflecting back on the choices they made. Maybe when they were in a similar situation that you now find yourself in, what did they do? Or what do their values show you that they would have done? That can be really helpful in making a good choice here and now when you feel confused. All this to say, mastering your desires will lead you to freedom. And I'm not perfect at this. I'm truly just here solving my own problems out loud on camera with you. This is a community thing. And I often have to address my desires first with brute force because I don't have the freedom to say no. So for example, I have this device called a brick. The brick is fabulous. If they are sponsoring people, please sponsor this burgeoning channel, okay? The brick is a small physical device that is a magnet, and you put it on a place like your fridge, and you use it to either allow a list of certain apps on your phone or to block a certain list of apps on your phone. This thing has completely changed my life because without it, I was sitting here scrolling, looking at random things that I didn't need, that I didn't want, that I did not intend to purchase, but just kind of dreaming about them and letting the desires build up in my head for like random material things. It was a complete waste of time. So the brick has significantly reduced the amount of time that I waste. And that is a brute force way to kind of train my desires. Now, I hope that eventually over time, and I believe based on other examples in my life, that with enough time of me not scrolling on my phone because of the brick, I'll eventually not need the brick anymore. It's sort of a stepping stone to where I want to go, but it's not something I'm going to need permanently for the rest of my life. Because hopefully in the time away from the phone, I'm taking advantage and reflecting on what I actually want, noticing when I spend time doing other things that are not scrolling on my phone, seeing how that greatly improves my life, and then desiring that thing instead. Freedom is the fruit of rightly ordered desires. To end this video, I'm going to put up a copy of one of my favorite prayer guides. It's called An Examination of Conscience. It is a way of reflecting on what you did throughout the day, what you didn't do, the ways you responded in love, the ways you did not respond in love. And it really helps you understand how you were moving through things, why you were moving through things that way, and it allows you to make better choices in the future. I'm going to post a copy of that right here. It helps you work through questions like, what moved my heart today? What patterns do I notice? What did I choose and why? Where did I resist grace? Where did I accept grace? I challenge you to try it out tonight. So remember, your desires are not obstacles and you are not beholden to them. You can absolutely change, transform, and shape your desires to help you become the person you actually want to be. I'm Adora Namigante. Thanks for watching.